Alright, subpart EF, specifically for the cryogenic liquid tanker cars, the stainless steel tank for the 179-400, the general specifically applicable to the cryogenic liquid tanker cars, general 14401, tanker built with the specification must comply with 179-400 and section 170401. Section 104, 403, the type. The tank built with the specification consists of the inner tank with the circular cross-section support with the essential crown section with the outer jacket, circular cross-section with the outer roundness to both the inner tank with the outer tank with limited the corners with the paragraph UG80 in section 8 of the ASCME code. They have the annual special evacuated with the failure annular space for the improved installation material having the inner tank head designed to concave with the pressure, have the outer jacket of the head of the design convex to the pressure of the test. The tank must be equipped with the piping system with the vapor, the venting with the transfer, landing with the pressure release device, and control gauge with the vapor valves as prescribed herein. 179-404 installation system and performance standard. The purpose of the specification for the standard heat transfer rate with expressed in BTUs day and pounds of water capacity means with the rate of the heat transfer for the use of determining the satisfactory performance installation system of cryogenic tanker car tank in a cryogenic liquid service to C179401 table. Testing cryogenic liquid means that the cryogenic liquid should be different from the landing of the intent of the ship of the tank between the use and during performance test, installation test, and system. Normal evaporation rate NER expressed in pounds. The cryogenic liquid means days. Means of the rate expression determined in test for the cryogenic liquid test maintained with the pressure approximately 1 atmosphere absolute determined over the national the normal evaporation rate is the normal evaporation test. For stabilization period means for the elapsed time after the tanker car tank is filled with the test of the cryogenic liquid until the national normal evaporation rate has stabilized to 24 hours has passed, whichever is greater. Calculated heat or transfer rate with a calculated heat or transfer rate CHTR is determined by the use of test data obtained during the normal evaporation rate in formula. All right. Q equals N times gross water volume of 60 degrees Fahrenheit and times. All right. B.113A60W. The tanker cars must be filled with hydrogen cryogenic liquid maximum permitted with the fill density specified with 173.319D2. Table of the subchapter prior to the performing normal evaporation testing should have the CHDR equal to less than SHR or HDR specified in section 401 table of dot 111 3A60W tank. Dot 11 and 3C120W tank must be filled with ethanol cryogenic liquid maximum permitted with the fill and density with the 173.319D2 with the table subchapter prior with the performing normal evaporation testing. Available with nitrogen cryogenic liquid of 90% of the volumetric capacity. Air tank performing the national normal environmental evaporation rate. Cryogenic liquid to the 90% of the volumetric capacity of the inner of the tank prior to the performing the normal evaporation rate test. Having the CHTR equal less than 75% of the SHTR specified in section 171.401.113C120 120W tanker car. Insulation materials must be approved. The insulation consists of the powder having the tendency to settle entirely with the top of the cylindrical portion of the inner tank that must be installed with a layer of glass fiber insulation at least with the 1-inch nominal thickness of the equivalent. Suitability held in position with a covering area with extending 25 degrees each side of the top center of the line. Inner tank. The outer tank must be provided with the fittings to permit the effective evacuation of the angular space between the outer jacket and the inner tank. The device measure for the absolute pressure for the annular space must be provided with the device must be portable with easily accessible connection with a permanently position where it is readily visible to the operator. 179-405 material stainless steel ASTM A240 and A240M. Type 304 and 304L must be used with the inner tank with its imprudencies specified with the AR specification. And if the tanker car's Appendix M in the annealed condition prior to the fabrication formula, the fusion weld suitable for the use of the temperature for the landing, compatible with the landing in steel, any steel casting, steel forging, steel structure, shape of the carbon steel plate using fabricated outer jacket heads must be specified with the AR specification with tanker car's Appendix M. Impact tests must be conducted with accordance with the AR specification of the tanker car's Appendix W9.01. Performed with the longitudinal specimen of the test of material conducted in the tank designed several temperature for the colder of the performed on test plate weld the material weave the inner tank for the prudencies of which whether it will be subject to the cryogenic temperatures impact test valve must be equal to greater than those specified by the AR specification. tanker cars, and Appendix W of the report impact test must include the test values and lateral expansion test. 179-406 bursting and buckling pressure. A. Reverb. B. The outer jacket with the required evacuated insulation system must be designed in accordance with the 179-400 D. In addition, must comply with the design load specification section 6.2 of the AR specification tanks cars. A. IBR 151 with the subchapter. The design calculation must be provided with the landing of the loading of the transfer of the outer jacket through the support system. 179-407, the tank heads for the inner tank outer jacket must be flanged with the dish or ellipsoid, and the flange of the dish head must have a main inside dish radius not greater than the outside diameter of the straight flange, inside knuckle radius for not less than 6% of the outside diameter of the straight flange, inside knuckle radius with at least 3 times the thread of the thickness. 179-408, thickness for the plate. The minimum wall thickness of the after forming of the inner shell of the 2-to-1 ellipsoid head with the inner of the tank must be as specified with the statute 179-401. The calculated with the following formula, whichever is greater. T equals PD over 2 SE. The minimum thickness for the plate and after forming in inches is TP is the minimum required bursting pressure in PSI gauge. D is the inside diameter of the inches. The S is the minimum tensile strength of the plate material described in the AR specification of the tank cars Appendix M of the table M and PSI. E equals 0.9 of the factor predictor of the efficiency of the welded joints accepting for the seamless heads at 1.0. The minimum wall thickness for the after forming 3.3 to 1 ellipsoid head with the inner tank must be that specified with the 179-4011 for the calculating for the following formula, whichever is greater. T equals 1.83 over times PT over 2 SD. T equals the minimum thickness of the plate after forming the inches. P equals the minimum required bursting pressure on the PSI gauge. D is inside the diameter inches. S is minimal tensile strength of the plate materials prescribed in the AR specification of tank cars. Appendix M of the table M1 in PSI. E equals 9/10 of the factor representing the efficiency welded joints except for the seamless. And E when E equals to 1.0. The minimum wall thickness for the after forming the flange and dish. Head for the inner tank must be specified in 179-4011 for the calculate with the following formula, which of the greater. T equals PL1 distributed to 3 in the square root of L divided by R and divided by 8 SE. Minimum thickness for the plate after forming the inches. Minimum T minimum P equals the minimum bursting pressure on the PSI gauge. L makes the main inside radius of the dish head in the inches. The R inside the knuckle radius in inches. S the minimum tensile strength of the plate materials prescribed AR specification for the tank cars. Appendix M with the M1 of the PS in PSI equals 0.910 with the factor representing with efficiency with the welded joints except for the seamless E, where E is equal to 1.0. The minimum wall thickness of after forming the outer jacket of the shell must not be less than 7/16 of an inch. The minimum wall thickness of any form of the outer jacket must be not be less than 1/2 inch. They must not be made from steel specified in statute 129-16C. Angular space that will be evacuated cylindrical portion of the outer jacket between the stiffening rings if used must be designed to withstand external pressure of 37.5 psi and gauge critical collapsing pressure as determined by the following formula. PC equals 26E divided times 2D and to the exponent of 2.5 divided by L divided by D times 0.45 times T divided by D to the 0.5. PC is the critical collapsing pressure of 37.5 psi gauge minimum, and E equals modulus elasticity of the jacket material in psi. T equals minimum thickness of the jacket material after forming in inches. D equals outside diameter of the jacket in inches. L equals distance between the stiffening of the ring center of the inches of the heads of the may not be considered stiffening rings located in 1/3 of the head depth of the head tangent line. 179-409 stiffening rings. If the stiffening rings are designed cylindrical portion for the outer jacket with external pressure, they must be attached with the jacket by means of fillet welds. Outlet stiffening rings attachment welds must be continuous on each side of the ring with the inside with the stiffening ring of the attachment weld must be intermittent welds on each side of the width of the total length of the weld in each side not less than 1/3 of the circumference of the tank. The maximum of the space between the welds may not exceed 8 times the outer jacket wall thickness. Any portion of the outer jacket may be included with the calculating moment with the inert with the ring with the effective with the width of the jacket plate on each side of the attachment of the stiffening ring with the given with the following formula. WE is equal to 0.758 times RT to the 0.5. W equals the width of the jacket effective with each side of the stiffening ring in the inches. The R equals the outside radius of the outer jacket in inches. T equals the plate thickness of the outer jacket after the forming of the inch of C. When stiffening the ring is used with the consistent of the closed section, have the two webs attached for the outer jacket of the jacket. Plate between the webs must be included with the limit of the twice of the valve with W divided with the paragraph B of the section, the outer flange for the closed section. If it is no steel structure, the shape of the subject for the same limitation with the weight W based on the R and T valve of the flange, where the two separate members from such that the two angles are located with less than 2W apart, but may be retreated with the signal stiffening ring member. The maximum length of the plate which may be considered with effective is 4W. The closed section between the external ring of the outer jacket must be provided with the drain opening. The stiffening ring must have the moment and air large enough to support the critical collapsing pressure as determined in either the following formulas. I equals 0.035 thousandths Z third to the third, and LP to subnoted C, E divided by E, or I is equal to the required amount of the inner stiffening of the ring with the centroid comparable to the vessel axis in an inch of the fourth. I italicized required moment of the inner combined with the section stiffening around effective. Width of the jacket with the bottom of the centroid axis, power with the vertical axis in inches. D, the outside limited diameter of the outer jacket. The L, the one half of the distance for the center line with the shifting ring with the next line to support the one side, plus the one half of the distance for the center line with the next line supporting the other side with the shifting ring. Both distances are measured parallel to the axis for the vessel in inches. The A line is part of the one shifting ring which meets with the requirements of the paragraph. 2, the circumferential line over the head of the 1/3 of the depth of the head from the tangent line. P equals the critical collapsing pressure of 37.5 psi gauge minimum. E, modulus elasticity shifting ring material in psi. Where the loads are applied with the outer jacket, the shifting rings from the system that you use to support the inner tank with the outer jacket with the additional shifting rings, and increase with the moment in air of the shifting ring. The sign for external pressure must be provided with the carry of the support limit loads. 139, 410, siphon and sump and siphon bowl. Sump and siphon bowl may be the bottom of the inner tank and shell. They are formed directly into the inner tank within its form, but the welding into the inner tank shell is in weldable quality, metal, and compatible with the inner tank shell. The stress is any orientation under this condition that does not exceed the circumferential stress in the inner tank of the shell. Wall thickness is not less than specified in 139, 401. 139 411 welding, except for the closure opening the maximum two circumferential closing joint with the cylindrical portion of the outer jacket. Each of the joint of the inner tank of the outer jacket must be fusible to double welded butt joint. The closure of the opening of the circumferential closing joint with the cylindrical portion of the outer jacket include the head of the shells may be single weld but using the back strip of the inside of the joint. Each of the joint must be welded in accordance with the requirements of the AR specification for the tanker cars appendix W, and each welding procedure with the welder fabricated must be approved. 179 412, the post-weld heat treatment. The post-weld heat treatment of the inner tank does not require the cylindrical portion of the outer jacket with the width of the exemption for the circumferential closing seams must be post-welded heat treated as prescribed in the AR specification for tanker cars appendix W. Anytime items may be welded with the portion of the outer jacket that must be attached before the post-welded heat treatment. The welding skirt of the following need not to be post-welded heat treated when it's not practically due to the final assembly of the procedure. The inner tank, the support system, and the outer jacket, connection of the piping penetration, the closure of the axis opening, the circumferential closing joint for the head of the shell joints. When cold formed heads are used with the outer jacket, they must be heat treated before welding to the jacket if the post-weld heat treatment is not practically due to the assembly procedure. 179 413 support system and the inner tank. The inner tank must be supported with the outer jacket by the support system approved to design the system and its area of attachment. Outer jacket must have the adequate strength and ductility of the operating temperature to support the inner tank and then filled with landing at any level of the incident with transportation. The support system must be designed to support without yielding the impact loads for producing acceleration following magnitudes and direction when the inner tank is fully loaded. And the car is equipped with a conventional draft gear, longitudinal 7Gs, transversal 3Gs, vertical 3Gs. The longitudinal acceleration may be reduced to 3Gs, but the cushion device with the approved design, which has been tested to demonstrate the ability, limited liability forces of 400,000 pounds maximum and 10 miles per hour if used between the coupler and the tank of the structure. The inner tank of the outer jacket must be permanently bounded with each of the other electrically other than supporting system of the piping of the separate electrical connection approved design. 179 414 cleaning of the inner tank. The interior of the inner tank and all connection lines must be thoroughly cleaned and dried prior to the use. Proper pre-calculations must take them to avoid contamination of the system after the cleaning. 179 415 in radioscopy. Each longitudinal circumferential joint of the inner tank of each of the longitudinal circumferential double welded butt joint in the outer jacket that must be examined along its entire length in accordance with the requirements of the AR specification tank cars appendix W. 179, 416, access to the inner tank. The inner tank must be provided with the means of the access having the minimum of the inside diameter of 16 inches. The reinforcement of the access, the opening must be made with the same material used for the inner tank. The access for the closure must be approved with the material for the design. If the welded closure is used, it must be designed to allow it to be reopened. The grinding of the chipping of the be closed against the rewelding of the preferably without a need for new parts or cutting torch may not be used. 179, 417, the inner tank piping. Product line. The piping system, the vapor line, the vapor phase, the transfer, and venting must be made and material compatible with the product with having satisfactory products or easy for the landing of the temperature and the outlets for all the vapor phase. For the liquid phase, the lines must be located as the accidental discharge from the lines will not be impinged over any of the material outer jacket of the car, structure, the trucks, or safety appliances. Suitable provision must be made to allow the thermal expansion for the contraction, loading, and unloading line of liquid. A liquid phase transfer line must be provided, but must have the manually operated with the shutoff valve located on one closed practical outer jacket plus a secondary closure with the liquid with the gas type. The secondary closure must be permanent with any trapped pressure to believe off the drum before the closure can be removed completely. The vapor trap must be incorporated within the line located as close as practicable to the inner tank on dot 111. 3A60W tank cars. Any load of the unloading line must be vacuum jacketed between the outer jacket and the shutoff valve, and the shutoff valve must be also vacuum jacketed. 2. Vacuum phase line. The vacuum phase line must connect with the inner tank of the must be positioned aside for the permit with the pressure relief device specified in 179-420 with connected to the line with the operated within their design capacity with the excessive pressure buildup in the tank of the vapor phase, but they must have the manual operated with the shutoff valve located as closely as practical to the outer jacket of the post the secondary closure. The liquid and gas type of the secondary closure must permit the trap pressure for the blade off there for closure to be removed completely. The vapor phase blowdown line. A blowdown line must be provided, but it must be attached with the vapor phase line specified in paragraph the A2 with the section upstream with the shutoff valve in that line. The bypass line will be manually operated with the shutoff valve must have provided with the permitted reduction of the inner phase, the tanker phase. When the vapor phase is connected with the closed system, the discharge from the line must be outside, but the housing must be directed upward and away from the operating personnel. Any pressure building up to the system provided with the purpose of the pressurizing the vapor space of the inner tank of the facility, uploading the liquid and landing must be approved. 179-418, testing with the inner tank. After the items of the welded with the inner tank of that has must be been welded in place, the inner tank must be pressure tested. Test pressure prescribed in 179-411 with the temperature pressurizing medium may not exceed 38 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit. During the pressure of the inner tank of the must weld, the prescribed pressure for the period of not less than 10 minutes without leakage of the distortion. Any of the pneumatic tests to be regarded with the protection of all personnel should be taken because of the potential hazards involved. The hydrostatic test, the container piping must be emptied with all the water purged all water vapor. Caulking and welding joints stop the leak of the developing during the test. The prohibited repair of the weld joints must be made with the prescribed in the air or specification tanker cars appendix W. 179-419, the valves manually operated with the shutdown valve with the control valve must be provided where there are need control vapor phase for the pressure for the vapor phase, venting, liquid transfer, the liquid flow with the rates. All valves must be made with metal compatible with the landing of the having the satisfactory properties and landing temperature. The liquid control valve must be extended to the system design packaging if used must be satisfactory with the contact with the lading and unimproved of the approved material with which an effectively seal with the valve stem without causing difficulty to operation. Each control valve and the shutoff valve must be readily operable. These valves must be so that there is operation will not permit transmit excessive force to the piping system. Gauges. Gauges except for the portable, the unit must be securely mounted with suitable protective housing. The liquid in the level of the gauge, the vapor phase, the pressure gauge must be provided with the foul. One liquid level gauge with approved design to indicate the quantity of the liquid lading within the inner tank of the mounted wherein it will be readily visible with the outer operated during the transfer of the operating with the storage and portable gauge with the readily accessible connections to the fixed length of the dip tube with manually operated with the shelf valve located with the closed for the practical for the outer jacket of the dip tube. It must be indicated with the maximum liquid level for level filling density with the inner end of the dip tube. It must be located on the longitudinal center line of the inner tank within 4 feet of the transverse center line of the inner tank. Vapor phase of the pressure gauge with the vapor pressure phase gauge is approved with the design manually operated with the shutoff located and closed with the practical outer jacket. The gauge must be indicated with the vapor pressure with the inner tank must be mounted with where they are readily visible and to and operated with the addition fitting to use of the test gauge must be provided. 179-420, pressure relief device. The tank must be provided with a pressure relief device with the protective unit of the tank of the assembly piping system. Discharge from the device must be directed away from the operating personnel, principal load-bearing member of the outer jacket of the car structure, truck, safety appliances, vent or weep holes of the pressure relief device as are prohibited. All main pressure relief devices must be discharged outside of the protective housing in which they are located, except that the requirements do not apply to the pressure relief valves installed with the protect the isolated section of the lines between the final valve and the enclosure. The materials used with the pressure relief device must be suitable for the use at temperatures of the landing, otherwise compatible with the landing in both liquid and vapor phase. For the inner tank, the pressure relief device for the inner tank must be attached to the vapor phase piping mounted but remain with the ambient temperature prior to the open operation of the inner tank must be equipped with one or more of the pressure relief valves, one or more of the safety valves, except for the noted with the paragraph C3-4 of the section installed with the intervening with the shutoff valves, except for the noted with the paragraph C3-3 of the section. Additional requirements as follows: safety vent with the safety vent shall with the function with the present specified in section statute 179-4011. The safety vent valve must flow with the rate in accordance with the applicable divisions AR specification for the tanker cars appendix A with the IBRC 151.7 with the subchapter to provide sufficient capacity to meet the requirements of the AAR specification tanker cars appendix A 80.007. A. The pressure relief valve. The pressure relief valve must be set to the start for discharge with the pressure specified in 179-4011. Meet the requirements of AAR specification tanker cars appendix A 807B. 3. Installation safety vent with the pressure relief valve, the inlet pipe, the opening through all the piping, the fitting between the inner tank with the its pressure relief device must have the cross-sectional area with at least equal to that, so that the pressure relief device inlet with the flow of the characteristic of the upstream must be such that the pressure drop will adversely affect the relieving capacity of the proper operation of the pressure relief devices. B. When required for relief capacity made with the use of the multiple pressure device placed on one connection with the inlet internal cross-sectional area of the connection must be sufficient to provide required flow capacity for the proper operation of the pressure relief device system. 2. The outlet piping. The opening of the discharge line for the half of the cross-sectional area of the device equal through the pressure relief device outlet that may not reduce the relieving capacity below the required to the proper protect the inner tank. When the required relieving the capacity is met by use of the multiple pressure relief devices placed on the common discharge manifold, the manifold outlet internal cross-section area must be at least equal to the combined outlet area of the pressure relief device. 2. 3. The duplicated pressure relief device may be used with an improved three-way with selector valve installed to provide with relief device through the duplicated pressure relief device. The three-way valve must be included with the mounting of the prescribed in the AR specification for the tank car of the appendix A 6.02G, conducting the flow capacity of the test with the safety valve prescribed in the AR specification for the tank cars appendix A 6.01. Flow capacity must be performed with the three-way valve both at the extreme position as well as the mid position, but the flow capacity must be in accordance with the AR specification. Tanker cars appendix A07A 4 valve. The alternate pressure relief with the says required in 179-4011 may be used with the safety vent with the provided with the means for the flowing required capacity prescribed in the AR specification with the tanker car appendix A with the flow rating pressure with 110% with the start discharge pressure installation must prevent the moisture from the accumulation of heat by providing drainage away from the area of the pipe permit, the periodic drainage of the venting pipe, C, the preventing accumulation of the foreign material in the vent system. 4. The evaporation of the routine release of the vaporized landing of the may be controlled by the pressure controlling the mixed device, except with the pressure of controlling the mixing device is required on dot 113A60W. Any of the pressure controlling mixing devices must be set to start to discharge pressure not greater than specified in 159-4011. Sufficient capacity for the limit of the pressure for the inner tank with the pressure specified in 179-401 with the discharge equal to twice the normal venting rate. During the transportation for normal vacuum in the outer shell with 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Prevent the discharge of the gas mixture exceeding 52% and lower flammability limited to the atmosphere. Under no conditions with the storage and transportation safety interlock with the safety interlock provided with the purpose of allowing the transfer to lading of the pressure with the higher than the pressure control valve setting with the less than the pressure relief valve setting of the design must be set, but the safety interlock will not affect the discharge path of the pressure relief valve safety vent at any time. The safety interlocking must automatically provide with the unrestricted discharge path of the pressure control device at all times when the tanker car is transported and services. The outer jacket must be provided with a suitable system to prevent building up the angular pressure of the space pressure from exceeding 16 degrees, 16 psi gauge for the external pressure within which for the inner tank jacket design, whichever is less, the total relief of the air provided with the system must be either 25 square inch of the means, but they must be provided to prevent clogging any of the system opening as well for the ensure the adequate communication to all area of the insulation space. Safety vent is part of the system. It must be designed to prevent distortion and rupture of the disc when the angular space is evacuated. Piping system. When piping the circuit can be isolated with the closing of the valve means that the pressure relief valve must be provided. 179-421. Test for the pressure relief diet. Each valve must be tested for the air or the gas in compliance with 179-4011 before being put in the service. 179-422. Protective housing. Each valve engaged in closure of the pressure relief valve with the exemption secondary relief valve with the protection of the isolated piping must be enclosed within protective housing. The protective housing must be accommodated adequate protective of the enclosed components of the director of solar radiation, mud, stone, adverse environmental exposures, mechanical damage incidents to the normal operation of the tanker car. It must be designed to provide with a reasonable access to the enclosed with the components for the operational inspection maintenance, and so the vapor concentration cannot be blown up to the dangerous level inside the housing in the event of the valve leakage of the pressure relief valve of the operation. All of the equipment within the protective housing must be operable by personnel wearing heavy gloves and must be incorporating the provisions of locks and seals. Protective housing and the cover that must be constructed with metal not less than 119 thousandths of an inch thick. 179-423 operating instructions. All valve engages must be clearly identified with corrosion resistant nameplates of plate corrosion resistant material, preparing preliminary precautionary instruction for the safety operation of the equipment during the storage and transfer operation may be securely mounted so that they're readily visible to operate. The instruction plate must be mounted with each of the housing containing the operating equipment control with the protecting handling. The instruction must include the diagram of the tank and piping system of the various gauge of the control valve and the pressure relief device is clearly identified with located. 179-424. Stamp. The tank that complies with all the specification requirements must have the following information plainly and permanently stamped into the metal near the center head of the outer jacket at the B end of the car in letter and figures at least 3/8 of an inch high in the following order. Specification, design, surface temperature, inner tank, material thickness, shell thickness, head thickness, inside diameter, inner tank builder's initial date, original tested, and the initial of the person conducting the original test, water capacity, outer jacket, material, and outer jacket builder's initials. And also car assemblers initials, if other than the inner tank of the outer jacket builder. Any stamping of the outer shelf of the heave of the inner tank is prohibited in lieu of the stamp required with the paragraph A of the section specified with the markings may incorporate with the date of the plate corrosion resistant metal fillet weld in place for the head of the outer jacket with the B end of the car. 179-425. Each of the tanker car must be sensible compliant with the provision of the AAR specification. Tanker cars depending C with the pencil must also be included with the following: the date of which the rupture disc was last replaced for the initial of the person making the replacement of the outer jacket and letters in the figure for at least 1 1/2 inch high. Design service the temperature of the maximum weight in letters and figure for at least 1 1/2 inches high. In addition with the hazardous material stencils. The water capacity and power of the net is at 60 degrees Fahrenheit with the tank of the cold for the operating temperature of the after deducting the volume above the inlet of the pressure relief valve device, pressuring the control valve of the structural member of the baffle and piping the other prudencies inside the tank and letters and figures at least 1 1/2 inch size. Both sides of the tanker letters are at least 1 1/2 inch size with the statement do not hump or cut off while in motion. Outer jacket below the tank of the classification stencil and letters with at least 1/2 inch high with the statement vacuum jacketed. Art 179-401, individual specification requirements applicable to the inner tanker cars, cryogenic liquid tanker cars. 179-401, individual specification and individual specification requirements for the inner tanker prudencies as follows. Dot surface temperature, material impact test of the welded and plate materials impact test values, standard heat transfer rate, BTU day per pound with the water capacity max, bursting pressure, minimum PSI gauge, minimum thickness of the self shell place, minimum head thickness inches plate, test pressure PSI gauge, safety venting bursting pressure PSI gauge, pressure relief valve, start and discharge pressure PSI gauge, pressure relief vapor testing pressure PSI gauge, minimum PSI gauge, pressure relief valve flow rating max pressure PSI gauge, alternating pressure relief valve starting at discharge pressure of 3 plus or minus PSI, alternating pressure relief valve vapor light minimum pressure PSI gauge, alternating pressure relief valve flow rating maximum PSI gauge, pressure control valve starting venting max PSI gauge, relief to valve device discharge restriction transfer line insulation. 179 500 specification dot 107 the seamless steel tanker car tanks. 179 501 tanker built under the specification shall meet the requirements of 179 500 179 503 type of the general requirements. Tank built under the specification shall follow the shall hollow forge with the drawing and one piece of the forge tank shall be managed machine inside over the before the end of the neck down, but after the necking down, the ending of the end shall be machined to the side of the end of the outside diameter. Machining not necessarily on the inside of the outside seam in the stainless tube, but in required end of the necking down. 4 tanks made in foreign country with the chemical analysis material all tests specified with carried out with the limits for the United States with supervision with the competent disinterested inspector of the nation, which in provision 179 518 B and C shall be carried without the point of manufacture by a recognized inspection bureau of the principal office of the United States. See the term marked end of the marked test pressure for the use of the, throughout the use of the specification defined as follows. 1. Marked end is at the end of the tank of which mark prescribed 179 517 are stamped. 1. 2. The marked test for the pressure is that the pressure of the PSI gauge, which is indicated with the figures substituted for the pound triple 4 app specs for the asterisk for the marking the dot 1047 asterisk stamped and the marked end of the tank. The gas pressure for the 130 degrees Fahrenheit of the tank shall not exceed 7/10 of the marked tank test pressure of the tank. 179 504 the thickness of the wall. The minimum thickness for the wall each finish for the tank shall be such that the pressure equal to 7/10 for the mark for the test pressure for the tank. Calculated with the fiber test for the PSI inner wall with the tank multiplied with the 3.0 will not be exceeding the tensile strength of any specimen taken from the tank and tested in a minute. Prescribed 179 507 of the minimum wall thickness shall be 1/4 inch. Calculations determine the maximum test pressure of the primitive of the marked on the tank shell as P equals to 10 times S distributed as D2, capital D2, lowercase D2, divided by 7 times D2 plus D2. Maximum marked test pressure primitive of this U is equal to 30.0 tensile strength with the specimen show the lowest tensile strength of the specimen taken with the tank of the tested is prescribed in 179 507 B is U. 3 is the factor of safety and anyways, making similar measurement of the calculation corresponding to the location at the other end of the tank using smaller results the same with the foregoing, making the calculation prescribed in paragraph B of this section. 179 505. The tank shall be made with the opening of the open heart with the electrical steel with the uniform quality material shall be free from seams, cracks, laminations with the defects and injuries of the finish of the tank and not free with such defects of the surface of the match may be machined within the ground. Eliminated with these defects, the forgings and seamless tubes of the body of the tank shall be stamped with the heat numbers. The steel note number 1 must conform with the following requirements as to the chemical reaction. Carbon maximum, magnesium maximum, phosphorus maximum, sulfur maximum, silicon maximum, medium, carbon, and some of the magnesium carbon not over class 1%, class 2%, class 3%. For instruction obtaining and checking the chemical analysis, see 179 518. 179 506. The heat treatment. Each of the neck down tank shall be uniformly heat treated. The heat treatment shall consist of the nailing of the normal life, the temperaturing of the class 1, class 2, and class 3 steel oil, quenching tempering of class 3 steel. The tempering temperature shall not be less than 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat treatment of the alternating steels shall be approved. All scales shall be removed from the outside of the tank to an extent sufficient to allow the proper inspection. To check the uniformity of the heat treatment of the brittle hardness of the test shall be made with the 18-inch interval with the entire elongated with the excess. The hardness shall not vary with more than 35 points with the length of the tank. Not hardened with the test not need to be taken within 12 inches from the point of the head tendency. Magnetic particle inspection shall be performed. The heat treatment on all tanks subject to the quenching temperature and the treatment of the defect pressure. Quenching cracks. The cracks shall be removed to the sound metal and grinding surface exposed with the shell blend with it smoothly into the surrounding air. The wall thickness check with the shall then be made with the refractive of the air with the ultrasonic equipment. The other suitable material means of acceptable inspectors shall remain with the wall thickness is less than minimum required thickness as determined by 179 504 B. It shall be making the calculation prescribed in paragraph B of this section. 179 507 physical test. Physical test should be made with the two specimens of 505 thousandths of an inch for the diameter within 2 inches of the gauge limited gauge length of the tank of the 180 degrees part with 1 inch from each ring with the section cut out from each of the end of each of the forged drawn tube from the necking, one from the prolongation of each of the end of the neck down to the tank. The test specimen ring section prolongation shall be heated treated with the neck down with the tank that will then represent the width of the test specimen ring with the specification must at least be than wall thickness only with the diameters. Wall thickness will not permit the removal of 505 thousandths of an inch by 2 inch for the 2-inch tensile strength laid by the transverse direction test bar with a cut and longitudinal direction of the substitute, but the thickness will not permit obtaining a 505,000 specimen with the largest diameter of the specimen obtained in the longitudinal direction shall be used. The specimen's mins shall have been bright surface to reduce the suction of 505 thousandths of the specimen and not use the gauge length, which shall be ratio of 4 to 1 length in determining diameter. B. The elastic limit determined by the extensometer shall be not exceed 70% of the tensile strength of Class 1 or 85% of the tensile strength of Class 2 and 3 steels. Deterioration shall be made with the crosshead space, but not more than 125 thousandths of an inch per minute, with the extensometer reading at 2/10 thousandths of an inch. External meter shall read with the increment of the stress not exceeding 5,000 psi stress, which the strain first exceeds. Shall be recorded with the elastic limit. The elongation shall be with the 18% with the reduction area of at least 35%. 179-508. The opening of the tank. Each end of it shall be closed with the cover. The more fuel forged steel cover shall be secured with the end of the tanks by thorough bolts and not entering the interior with the tank. Sufficient. The cover shall be thickness with sufficient to meet the test of the requirement 179-512 with the compensate with the opening and close with attachments prescribed herein. It is also provided that each of the ends may be closed with the internal threading, accommodated with the roof fitting of the internal threads as well. The threads on the fitting of the opening with it shall be clean cut, even without check with the tabs of the gauge for the tab heads. The threads required shall be length not less than the specified American standard taper type threads. External threading is improved type shall be not permissible. The internal thread and its joints between the cover and between the cover and attachments shall be approved to perform and made with the tied against the vapor of liquid leakage means of the confined gasket and suitable material. 179-510. Protective housing. Safe device loading and unloading devices on the tank shall be provided protected with the accidental damage of the provided with the metal housing range so that it may be readily open and permit the inspection and adjustment with a safety relief device and the valve that has securely locked and closed position. Housing shall be provided in the closed position. Housing shall be provided in the open, having the opening equal to twice the total discharge area of the pressure relief device enclosed. 179-511. Unloading and unloading valve. Loading and unloading valve. The valve should be mounted with the cover threaded with the marked end of the tank. The valve shall be approved the type made with metal not subject to the rapid deterioration and landing of the surface and shall be withstand without leakage of the pressure equal to the marked test pressure of the tank. Provision shall be made with the closing surface of the outlet valves. 179-512. Pressure relief device. The tank shall be equipped with one or more pressure relief devices with the approved type of the discharge area of the mounting of the out and the cover of them thread into the non-marking end of the tank. And the fittings are mounted on the cover. They shall be fans type of the maybe of the metal not subject to the rapid deterioration of the landing and origin surface. Total flow of the capacity shall be such that the tank of the filled with the air of the pressure equal to 70% of the marked test pressure on the tank of the flow with the capacity with the sufficient with the reduce the air with the pressure 30% of the mark for the test pressure within 30 minutes after the pressure relief device is open. Pressure relief devices shall be opened when the pressure is not exceeding the maximum of the marked test pressure for the tank, not less than the 7/10 of the marked tank. It's marked test pressure for tolerance for pressure relief devices C 179-516A. The cars used for transportation flammable gases shall have safety devices equipped with an improved ignition device. 179-513 fixtures. Attachments other than those mounted on the tank cover surfacing thread closure for the ends of those tanks are prohibited. 179-514 test of the tanks. After heat treatment of the tank shall be subjected to the hydrostatic test and the water jacketed by other accurate methods operated with so obtained with the reliable data. No tank shall have subjected previously internal pressure greater than 90% of the marked tank test pressure. Each tank shall be tested with the pressure at least equal to the marked test pressure on the tank. The pressure shall be maintained 36 sufficiently longer to ensure the complete expansion of the tank. Pressure gauge shall be permitted to read the accuracy of 1%. Expansion gauge shall be permitted to read a total expansion accuracy of 1%. Expansion shall be recorded in cubic centimeters. No leak shall appear with the permanently volumetric expansion shall not exceed 10% of the total volumetric expansion in the test pressure. 179-515. Hold the handling of the tanks and failing testing. Tanks rejected for the failure. Any of the tests prescribed may be reheat treated and will be acceptable in subsequent reheat treatment. They are subject to the bypass valve test. 179-516. Testing the pressure relief device. Pressure relief device valves shall be tested by air and gas before being put into service. The valve shall be opened and the pressure not exceeding the marked test of the pressure tank shall be vapor test tied at 80% of the marked test pressure. These limiting the pressure shall not affected by any auxiliary closure or other combination. For pressure relief devices, they incorporate the rupture disc and sample the disc and shall be burst from the pressure not exceeding the mark of the test pressure of the tank not less than 7/10 of the marked tank pressure. 179,517 marking. Each of the tanks shall plainly permanently marked with the certifying of the tank comply with all the requirements of the specimen. The mark shall be stamped and into the metal neck down section of the tank of the marked end with the letters and figures of at least 1/4 inch high as follows. Specification .107 is followed and then follows as to replace for the figures indicate with the marked test pressure of the tank. The pressure shall not exceed the calculated maximum pressure permitted determined by the formula 179,504B. Serial number immediately below the stamp marked as specified in paragraph A1 of the section. Inspector's official marking immediately below the stamp marked in specimen in paragraph 1A1 section. Name of the marking, other trademark, and the initial company with the person who is used the tank may be such with the record of the BTU Bureau of the Explosives. Dates such as 101 January 2001. The tank tested space so placed on the date. Subsequent tests must easily be out of date, and such as 101 January 2001. Latest test pressure relief device of the rupture disc required only with the tank was used in the transportation of flammable gases. B. Reserve. 179,518 inspection and reports before the tanker car is placed in the service department assembly with the complete with the shell furnished with the car owner with the Bureau explosive with the Secretary of Mechanical Division Association of American Railroads report and proper certifying of the tank that should be equipped with comply with all the requirements and specifications including the formation of the serial number and dates of the testing ownership of the marks and tanks amount of the structure of the purchase of the tank shall be provided with the inspection. Competent inspection is followed. The inspector shall carefully inspect all material rejected not complying with Section XU 179,505. The inspector shall stamp the official mark on each of the forging seamless tube accepted by him with the marking of the tanks. The shall verify the proper application for the heat number of such material. The occasional inspection for the steel manufacturer plant with the inspector shall obtain the certified chemical analysis each for the heat of the material. Inspector shall make the inspection inside of the surface of the tank before necking down to ensure the new seams, the crack, lamination, and other defects exist. Inspector shall fully verify the compliance with the specification, verify the heat treatment of the tank of the proper, obtain the sample of all the tests, check chemical analysis, witness all the tests, report minimal thickness for the tank wall. Maximum inside diameter of the calculated valve of the in each end of the tank is prescribed in 179,504C. Inspector shall stamp the official mark on the subject of the tank immediately below the serial number, making certified report paragraph C of the section to builder with the company of the person before person using the tank being made with the builder and carved structure of the wheels with the tanks mounted on the Bureau explosive to the Secretary of Mechanical Division Association of American Railroads. Inspector reports required herein shall be in the following. Is hereby certified with the drawings submitted with these tanks of the AAR application with approval and proof of the AAR committee. The tanks are built, date built for the company, built by a company for location designed by the company, location with the quantity length, inches outside in diameter, inches marked stamped, and the tank of cars required in 179,517. Also, serial numbers 2, inclusive things, extra marks, owners, marks, testing date, water capacity test, tear weights. These tanks may be processed blank steel with identified indicator with attached showing the serial number. Each of the tank filed with the heat number of the steel. You with the verified with the chemical analysis record attached with the here and there heat. The treatments were stamped in the metal with all the material inspected. Each of the tank was inspected was both before and after closing end with all the material except that were found free with the seam cracks, laminations, other defects which might prove injurious to the strength of the tanks from process manufacturer. Heat treatment of the tanks and witness found deficient with the satisfactory breaking the neck down with each of the tank of the measure for the each of the location prescribed 179,504. See with the minimum wall thickness inch of the location recorded with the maximum inside of the diameter inch of the each of the location recorded with the file D and the inch of the each of the location with the calculated recorded maximum fiber stress with the wall the location shown in the larger value D2 plus D2 and D2 minus D2, which was calculated with the 7/10 of the mark test of the pressure recorded with the calculations were made with the formula S equals 0.7 plus 7P times D2 times D2 plus D2. Hydroscopic testing material with the other tests is prescribed in the specimen manufactured and made with the presence and inspection with all material testings accepted were found in compliance with the requirements of the specification required there and after to. I hereby certify that all the tanks are provided with the satisfactory every way with the requirements of the transportation of this transportation specification, sign, place, date, record, or chemical analysis, steel tanks number to do inclusive. Size and inches out of diameters and longitude built by company for company. Heat number to transportation represented in serial numbers CMNP, SSI, and nickel chromium polyhydride. These analyzers were made by sand placed with recorded chemical analysis and steel number two, inclusive size, outside, inside, inches built for company, heat number to treat, take representative and bypass of elastic limit PSI tensile strength, PSI elongation percentage 2 inches reduction in the area of the percentage. Record hydrostatic testing, tanking, series number, actuated test pressure, tank total cubic center, permanent expansion, cubic centimeters per percent ratio, expansion, total expansion, tear weight, and capacity compound per pound for hours. Sign, dated, placed, and the general data, bank of data of tanks, number built, number two, and exclusive built by, for, and company. Alright, Appendix A. Appendix A is Part 179, procedure for the tank head puncture resistance test. Close that up, and we'll do the Appendix A.